Great. Okay, so 2 minutes. Let's wait for a bit more people.
Announcement? Ja, aber es ist also, ja, ist ja jetzt nicht relativ. Aber heute ist nicht so viel anzukündigen. We know who's doing the morning announcements? Is there anything to announce? Well, it seems like there's not much to announce, so just one and then keynotes also.
So I think we can start. Welcome for the second day. First thing, if you already have some feedback for us, feel free to fill out the form. We appreciate the positive, the negative, what we can improve. It will be shared also later, so you can save it for the rest of the day. So we are after the day one. We already have a poster sessions. We hope that you enjoy social event. And we start the day two. And for today, we already have an agenda, another keynote talk. We have a Telegram group. If you didn't sign up, feel free to do so. And for today, we plan lightning talks. This will be the last slot, and it will take place here. If you still have any ideas, you can still sign up. There isn't really any agenda for the lightning talks. You don't need any slides. You can just sign up and share your idea within a few minutes that you can get. Also for you, we prepared the maintainers track and open space. It's on the first floor, room 2.41. You can basically share space with people from your community. That's similar room to this, so a large one. There's also a projector. It will be open whole day, so feel free to use it anytime. We remind that today we still have code of conduct, which applies both to online and in-person activities. And for today, we also have sprints. For tomorrow, we also have sprints. Here you can see the 3 rooms where those will be held. We already have almost a dozen confirmed. So you can join anyone you want. If you still have ideas and you want to lead your own sprint, you can either send us an email or submit a PR directly. This also isn't really organized, so if you just want a group of people to work on a specific project, again, there are no expectations whatsoever for any kind of organization of your sprints. So once again, conference feedback. If you have any, write us any that you have. And that's all for the brief introduction. Let's welcome our today's keynote speaker, Dawn Wages. This one?
We continue the introduction. I will help with the connection.
So, briefly, Dawn is a community center technologist, open source advocate, and software engineer. In her work, she bridges scientific computing, ethical technology, and community building. She serves as a lead of community and developer relations at Anaconda. She supports Python ecosystem through education, outreach, and infrastructure advocacy. So let's welcome Dawn once again. Here you go.
Did you enjoy the social round? And is the food better this year than it was previous couple of years?
Last year there was no food on the social event.
Food for thought. Food for thought. Okay, yes. Did we do better regarding anything at all compared to 2023 or 2024?
Good. You just check. Can I open anything?
Yeah, do.
Okay. So this is what we want to. So this is what we want to hear in a feedback form. We do correct things if you don't like them, but only if you write about them. So that's why we ask. Please do. Even the setup issues we try to mitigate usually before time, ahead of time. It could be that you're a speaker, volunteer, organizer even, tutorial presenter. All roles are welcome to provide feedback. Please do.
Hey everyone, my name is Dawn Wages, as was mentioned, she, her pronouns, and coming all the way from Philadelphia. Thank you so much for having me. So, we'll be talking about the Fellowship of the Stack, the name of the presentation. I've given this one a couple of times. I want to give a thank you to Purdue Rosen School of Advanced Computing for letting me try out this presentation with them before I got here. If you're interested in a version of this presentation, it is chock load with a lot of ecosystem facts about Python in a non-narrative form. I'm happy to share those slides with you as well. But one of the really cool approaches with this, and I was really inspired by some of the artwork that you're going to see in this presentation, was to create a narrative approach to how we go forward together and go farther and win with the power of friendship kind of thing. And so the theme of this is that there's a lot of intricacies into supporting the Python ecosystem, specifically in scientific Python, and how we can be aware of things. A lot of it is a list of just concerns to keep aware of. And this is also specifically for a scientific computing audience, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you are an expert in Python because you are here, or because you are dealing with some of the most nuanced and complex issues that Python can answer or have you ask. You could be one of the foremost experts in Python. So it goes through the gamut. So our epic journey today, first we'll meet a few friends. Well, we're meeting our first friend who is singing a tale to encourage us on our journey. And isn't that how it always starts? It's someone who sings something and inspires us to go along this journey and figure out what that destination can entail. And through this specific presentation, we'll go through a journey of scientific discovery, and we'll talk about why scientific Python ecosystem is so treacherous to maintain. What is this ecosystem doing to address it currently? And where do you, a scientific Python fellow of sorts, fit in? So who am I? I am currently the outgoing chair of the Python Software Foundation. My term ends this September, I can't remember when the last board meeting is, but there's elections coming up, so if you are interested in being involved in the PSF as a member, you can still sign up to be a member so you can be eligible to vote in this upcoming election. Nomination statements are out. I also am an advocate for the Organization for Ethical Source. Happy to chat about this. This is more kind of like a hallway chat thing. It's not part of my presentation. I've been a Python software engineer for a little over a decade, but I'm more new to the scientific Python space, and I've been in developer relations for a while, and so I lead developer relations and community at Anaconda. And where are we headed? So we're going to get our supplies, we're going to cast our first spell, we're going to plot our course, gather companions, address some of those trials and tribulations, form a fellowship, and then we'll talk about some scaling things, just a little bit on that, and then we'll take record of our exploration. So when you're approaching computing in general, right, you'll start with your language distribution and where you can get it. And it sounds like it could be pretty straightforward, it could be C Python, but it ends up being a little bit more nuanced discussion on where and why you're going to want a different language distribution and how. And there's more language distributions proliferating as the ecosystem continues to want to address developer needs and prioritize developer experience. You'll have your language interpreter, your package manager, and a development environment. If you're doing it right, you're going to want to invest in version control and learning Git and making sure you're also doing some hygiene on your software principles. Data is gold. You're going to want your data, and then your data pipeline to support that ETL, that extraction, transform, and load of your data pipelines, and then an exploratory toolkit, which is mostly where people can kind of jump into the ecosystem. With Jupyter Notebooks, you can kind of handle a lot of the work. Before that, you can just jump into trying to explore and play around with scientific computing, and then you'll want your analysis engine. But sometimes those don't always match up with the tools that we are offered. So you see that black and white list of things that you'll need, but you're almost given this beautiful array of things and you don't know which one overlaps with the other. This is a cute metaphor of images that can, I have one for each of them, but don't have time to go through all of them. But we have a portal into another world, your IDE, or you have your Twine, your CI, to bundle things together and get it to a different production environment. You have your book of spells, or your documentation, or your code snippets, and maybe your version control where you can go back in time. You'll also want to clean your data, so maybe we have a little bit of magic in our cleaning. And then you'll have the powerful data that runs behind it. And when we're casting our first spell, we have some considerations. What are you using programming languages outside of Python? Are you anticipating that? Do you know if your programming is going to require other language dependencies? Are you anticipating dependencies and considerations, or are you not even sure yet when you're approaching this process? And are you sharing your environments with your peers? This journey should look familiar to people who've done this process times and times before. You'll start mostly in scientific Python with a domain problem. You'll have something that you'll want to solve, and it'll hopefully be tightly scoped, or you can skip to, and you'll start with an exploration phase, then define the problem, and then you'll start this journey. You'll want to understand that data as you're approaching it beforehand, prep your data, model, evaluation, and then production results. We've run into a couple of friends so far, but now we're in contact with a friend of deep knowledge. He's driven by the pursuit of knowledge with many years, seemingly magnanimous with their desire to follow us along on this journey. But it makes them a great companion, and they're well-versed in new and old magic. They hear about our journey and are immediately interested in helping, and there's so many different ways that they can help. So,
I don't think it's cut out.
I want to. There we go. I think I fixed that. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Okay. So there's so many different ways that you can use Python. There's over 100,000 packages in the ecosystem. You're able to explore and innovate and expedite your innovation. You're able to leverage those packages and accomplish things that you may have not expected to look for, and especially if you're diving deeper into domain expertise, because in the last several years, last decade or so, there's been a proliferation of packages that specifically follow in domain expertise. So the first generation focused on Python's ease of use with the performance of compiled languages. So those would be roughly from the mid-1990s to the early 2000s. Things like F2Py, which was fortran through to Python, Swig, and later CPython.
So I think you want to hide the menu.
There was also an emphasis on array-centric computing, introducing the n-dimensional arrays and addressing Python's limited support for numerical data, and it enabled mathematical operations that on entire arrays without explicit loops. So that was a huge performance increase and was one of the early iterations of scientific package proliferation. So these were also free tools that were alternative to these expensive proprietary solutions that started around that time, and all within the academic and research origin. So there was for scientists by scientists. And now, so from the early 2000s to now, we can say maybe it's about the second generation of these new scientific package and explorations. Our friend with a pursuit of knowledge has expert experience in the new magic as well. We'll see things like Polars, who is a rising star that hit version 1.0 and is rapidly gaining adoption. Very focused on performance. Polars and DuckDB are a league of their own in magnitude. We're also interested in GPU acceleration these days. So with NVIDIA Rapids, it provides up to 13x performance improvements. And I've been having a really good time playing with the Rapids and QPy on stream lately, and that's been really fun. But there's a lot of really cool tools that I've noticed that's coming out of Rapids right now. So really pay attention to the documentation. That's really great. There's also, and Rapids also now enables zero-code change for CPU and GPU user experience. And that's another theme that's happening amongst our tool chains, where there is an expectation for our scientific community to have no code changes when you're moving from one platform architecture to another. There's also an emergence in visualization tools. I really like HoloViz, Plotly, and Dash are gaining traction as well. AutoML and democratization of machine learning is also huge. So really putting AI and ML in everyone's hands. This means more explicit APIs, multiple options for package management, and more support for the broader data science ecosystem, and a better emphasis on developer experience. We're continuing our journey, gathering more companions, and we're working with the strength and resilience and the fortitude of our software expert. The key insights is that scientific computing software serves two purposes. It produces correct scientific results, but it also must be maintainable as software. So this dual requirement makes it, the principles especially important for software in scientific Python ecosystem. So you want, and that also provides a bit of friction in a lot of researchers' workflow, because there's get results quickly, explore, ideate, publish, but that also doesn't go hand in hand necessarily with build it right, make it last, and keep the code clean. So I've talked almost an assumption on why Python, and it's EuroSciPy. It makes sense why I just default to Python, but Python is a glue language, and so also commonly mentioned as the second best language for everything. It has bubbled to the top because by choosing Python, you don't actually only have to choose Python. It has it's easily extensible, and although not the most performant, you can offload highly compute-intensive tasks to other languages as well. It's used in a ton of different use cases. I mentioned the many packages that are available on PyPI, and there's also tons of other repositories for packages. And it's very flexible and extensible, and it's human-readable code. So in its design, it was made for it to be at least initially human-legible. I'm a Pythonista because I enjoy the community, but it's also a really pragmatic language or naming self-identifier for me, because instead of a dogmatic approach, I'm now able to pick the second best language for everything, but also pick the best language for everything. And so we're going on a small side quest. I think this one's really interesting on how your Python file gets to runtime and machine-readable code. It's just a slight side quest, whether you're hitting the play button in your editor or shift-enter, or you're running it on the command line. We've met a friend who can help us along the way. Python is an interpreted language, which not all languages are interpreted, and this means that the program you run is delivered as source code, and then which means that, some are compiled, which means that the program you run is delivered as source code, and you just hit that code and run. But the code you write in Python is converted to machine code by the Python interpreter without any physical compilation. So this is human-readable code. Python is performing lexical evaluations and is breaking it down, their character tokens, along with keyword identifiers and operators and literals. And so those tokens are now representing the shape of the code. And so you don't have to compile the code. Then the interpreter takes so then after that lexical evaluation, the interpreter will parse through the code, making sure it conforms to the syntax tree. And then bytecode is a low-level platform unbiased representation. And then we're moving into the virtual machine. The just-in-time compilation is something that's being proposed in PEP 744. So if you're familiar with how Python enhancement proposals work, you'll follow along with PEP and their numbers. And people are excited about the JIT compiler. C API is how I've mentioned a couple times. You can offload some of that work to other languages. Primarily it's used for C, C++, but you can also use Fortran. in many other languages. And then you'll have your bytecode. You'll have your machine-readable code. Your packaging complexities, we have a friend who's expert in that as well. It's non-trivial. Sometimes packages can build differently based on the date, or bugs in GCC leading to a loss of numerical precision based on import order, or the correct configuration of script, which in OpenSSL, their configuration script is in Perl, or shared symbols between libraries, which can delete references between versions silently. For GDAL requirements, it requires building Chromium. File system issues. And then even across architectures, Pillow, which is an imaging library, has pre-built wheels are not available. So it requires a C compiler and development headers on many systems. For GDAL, it supports geospatial formats, a lot of geospatial formats in different libraries, and it's very difficult to coordinate execution of all of those formats. And then for PyTorch, specifically matching PyTorch versions with your CUDA versions, PyTorch ships with specific CUDA versions baked in, and there's a very large download size. And we're discussing the operational realities which stem from technical necessities. These are not like to denigrate any of the packages that have these. It's just to show how difficult maintaining the system is and how much work is put into making sure the code that we all use works. And then beyond that, you go down into domain expertise. So in one of the previous slides, we started with the journey on domain expertise, and that's a whole good way to do it if you have a cadre of people who are all in your domain to help you along the way. But sometimes you want to start with the general tools. Sometimes it's more accessible with documentation, and maybe that's all you need. The more domain expertise that you get and the more narrow the focus is, the smaller the user group is, and the more difficult it is to nail down the maintainability and reproducibility of those tool chains. You'll start with general purpose, maybe NumPy, SciPy. Then you'll get to broad scientific, maybe pandas or matplotlib. You can get domain specific like AstroPython or BioPython. And then you'll get lab and project specific like your custom analysis packages or things like that. These tend to be problem driven and align on some of the similar data types, outputs, and have the nuances that you need to get your job done. And so our fellowship has been formed. It's 2025, scientific computing, the underpinning of AI. We are the largest users and creators of machine learning tool chains. And we've seen some trends emerge. When it works, you notice that you don't notice which Python distribution necessarily you're using, but there is a larger, as I mentioned before, proliferation of different distributions. So keep that in mind because they do have some nuances on how and why you use them. For example, if you're using PyPy, one of the ones I'm more familiar with, it is a more performant Python, but where you are finding, where we are offloading some compilations to C, for example, it won't speed up those activities. So you'll need to know what it's doing under the hood, and learning about profiling is also helpful in those. There's about a dozen more depending on your use cases. People are also very interested in IDEs. I used to work in the IDE space, and there used to be a larger war about Vim and Emacs and all of that. And it's fun, I enjoy it, but there's been a large surge into the IDE space. So people are embracing it. Framework and architectures, one of the more opinionated approaches that are happening now is a project management approach. So people are looking for more intuitive command line interfaces on orchestrating their project creation and artifact creation. There's an alignment on standards in the ecosystem for artifacts. It's not happened yet, but there's been a huge outcry that there needs to be an alignment on standards. There are too many standards. So there's PEP 440 for people who care, PEP 440, PEP 621, and PEP 518. All of those relate to different standards that are currently being in discussion about Python artifacts. We've scaled the quest. We have opportunities to get bigger. This is more departmental-wide considerations. And then we've done a great job. We've unlocked the secrets of scientific Python. Where this analogy falls short is that it's not one long journey. We do this in an iterative approach. And documentation exists. This is not magic. And you don't have to understand the entire ecosystem to be successful. One of the goals of this presentation was to give a lens on the full ecosystem for people who want to take notes or for back to later are interested in the way that trends work in the ecosystem outside of their visibility. But you don't have to understand everything to be able to make it to your end destination and be successful. I'd love to give an extra thank you to Riska Erliansa. These are beautiful designs that really inspired me to take a presentation that was very technical and turn it into a journey of friendship. And so here are all of the pictures of the accessible and diverse characters, which I really enjoyed. And I have an ask for you all after listening to my presentation. Thank you so much. There is a Python packaging ecosystem survey that launched this past year. It's the first one of its kind, and I think it may be the second or third iteration of a similar vein, but it's in partnership with PyPI and like 30 other of your favorite organizations. It is sponsored by Anaconda and will be running year over year, and it is open until December 30th, the last day of December, at 11:59 anywhere on Earth, and we'll publish results in the first quarter of 2026, and then we'll do it again in 2026. So if you want to understand how your peers are using Python packaging in the ecosystem, or if you want to contribute, please respond to the survey. And we have like 12,000 results so far, so please join. Thanks, that's me.
So time for questions. Sorry.
Thanks for a great talk. Like in one of your slides, you showed like the old world and the new world of scientific Python.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that does pop out is the old world came from like more like academic background, like it just happened more naturally. And the new world is corporations and startups. Is that something we even think about? Or
All the time, every day. I am a self-taught engineer and came from the open source community in small orgs. And as I progressed in my career, I've been more involved with startups and companies that invest in the ecosystem. And although there's a couple fold questions in there wrapped in one that I'd love to talk about, but we may not have time for. But there is the long-term health and sustainability of open source that needs funding. So we expect corporations to figure out where their incentives align, and I think it's quite easy how we can find how their incentives align, and then put their money where their mouth is, and or put their engineering dollars where their mouth is. Full-time engineers working on open source is a luxury, but it's growing in popularity. You find that more and more. They don't always stick around, so like some of the hyperscalers will have the teams and then like dismiss the teams and they disperse and go to other really awesome orgs. However, it does create complicated tool chains sometimes. It will create developer overhead. Sometimes there is a bias to put some of those design considerations inside of our tools that may be that we don't understand whether or not there's bloat or not, because we install the tools and we use it and it's not malware, but it could be bloat. So I think there's considerations on both sides. I think there's a lot of educating. I think the next wave, I think you are identifying a friction that is going to be in maybe this third wave, right? And maybe in another decade, we'll actually figure out how to address it, and we'll have the informed communication style between enterprise and community to maybe fight back or have best practices. I think you're totally spot on.
Hi, thank you. I really enjoyed the talk. I saw a brief mention of PyOpenSci, and I thought maybe if you would like to expand on that for those who are unfamiliar with the work that they do.
Oh, it was my miss for not mentioning it more explicitly. Yay! Yes. So as you are, we have our friend who is helping us with our software principles. PyOpenSci is an organization founded by Leo Wasser, who is helping coordinate with scientific people in open sciences, either way you slice it, who want to learn more about the maintaining and being your ecosystem in Python, right? So she's much more eloquent with it, but it starts from 0 and gets you to 100, and it will. There are lots of different programs and documentation and resources to pair you with experts and to help you through that journey. So I love PyOpenSci. Great catch.
So no more questions. So let's thanks once again. So I think now it's time for a break, and then we'll resume next round of talks.
Thank you.
I saw your comment, so I tried to write the unit test tomorrow.
Sharing more. But it's like
it's a little bit problematic, because sometimes you know exactly the reason why it's this wrong.
That's why if you have I made the most of those the number of like I use it slightly different way. taking this wrong into account or not.
So the speakers they also know
yeah, the Chronic speakers are downloaded. At least I know I have so many columns here, different beneficial like shifting. Yeah, if I know also then because no, I watched on the I can only watch on the item of the form. Maybe the response ones don't have the same item or something. Something strange. Yeah, but it doesn't change the data too much. Yeah. So like AIs, now it exists at 50% of the AIs, and if we take the strong ones from 60%.
Yeah, we're just looking for a quiet place.
Oh yeah, so that's why is that next up there? Yeah, because I got the so I don't want to go why, but I used to drop it. One point just thinking, okay, what but do you actually get the money somewhere?
Yeah, actually it's in it goes to open directives. It goes to
Because I think I set it up for drop it, but it doesn't go anywhere. Why is the same?
I may actually be wrong, like I don't know where it goes. Like I need to run. Because someone gets it. it's a small piece of but like that, I think that's the other thing. The majority of people who look at it, they just use it for the graph data structure. They don't necessarily use the algorithm or AI, but graph formula, they use it and nice we can put it.
Okay. So they put it in the graph.
Yeah, like a lot of people they just like store the data. Maybe like querying, use it as an in-memory graph database. Okay. There is querying things, they not necessarily run like some community. Yeah, it's okay, very, very good. I think that the only people who use obscure algorithms are okay. If they use it as AWS is routing something. I don't know why do you think it's here?
If it's useful for the class backend.
No, I don't know. The guy actually started configuring network. The guy actually running build on his own.
That's so smart.
It's quite but the thing is, thanks to that, which is something that you're trying to encourage company to pay their dependency and dependency of the dependency. So they have a model where you say, okay, I'm going to put as a company, like Canonical, for example, I'm going to put $10,000 in it.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, there's an automated way of deciding, okay.
Like it does a weighting according to your code base.
Yes.
But you can like just tell it like scan the code base or something. Okay. And just like how many times you use scikit-learn or something for it.
Yeah. And so I set it up for Java requirements. And you get $2 for 10,000 square and probably 20 for Canonical or something like this.
You never know.
So it's
We support
there was a guy who was very cool about the website and the containers
It's a good thing, man.
I don't know. It was just one point was that's how I learned about it. Basically, it was you keep saying, oh yeah, there's this thing on the website,
I think that
which is going to solve a lot of problems. I don't know whether it's going to solve a lot of problems, but it's interesting.
I mean, Tyler is much better. Whether Tyler goes out and is selling something.
I don't know what it is. It's a mystery for me. Like,
I don't know, like
I left.
$1,000.
Yes, it is. So they don't show up in the market. But yeah, it's a mystery to me.
No, but I think what they're selling is that I believe that now folks will do that. I believe now folks not large services. That they like, oh, you want to pay money to open source project, but you cannot. Because donating is much harder than paying for a service. Basically, they just give a service. It's like, oh, if you have any security issues, like issues with this thing, maintenance. Anyway, just be ready.
With sense to me and all that, which I think it's like a mystery to me. It's good to be innocent.
He's happy.
That's so good. Nobody's complaining.
I'm so lazy. I use PowerPoint, but I don't know how to use the animation bits. Just straight two slides.
That's what I do. That's what I do with my markdown-based slides. Sometimes I'm like, oh shit, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to use some fancy HTML to do that, so I'm going to do 2 slides.
Just make sure that the picture are aligned between.
I mean, that's what I do is that I will make. Yeah, first I make the final set and duplicate it in the.
Yeah, so it made me think, about like developer thinking all those features and you just don't use a feature. It's like, but we need a feature, yeah, but like, no, I don't need it, it's too complicated.
It's to be.
I think the color and I think for so it's I think that's so long ago that I saw that shit. So for instance when oops. So if you look at it, it's freaky I can never have in real life with it's for so long that I see it and if you shrink then like the icon go under and everything's not aligned anymore and it's like finally I think you know what but now because of this I saw there were some issues and now I'm fixing the I fix the colors and so how the colors and I should admit when it comes to those sheets because I tell you okay I will do that given this CSS rules so that things that are like that you have here you need to change some things that I did as well Jesus right most of the time
So you the picture of the
no but
okay, you just say once I need it.
yeah because here I more or less know what I'm reading so I say so I didn't like even say that context here this will make that rendering so I explain what I'm seeing and then I say I do like this and then it's something goes across
And if you want to not enough CSS just know whether it's complicated.
yes and then I just run the thing and if it does a good job I see but sometimes you think oh let me write a test to mention that no don't do that don't do the test I hate that and I think that we should as well remove the we should be removing the dark temp yeah like every time that it's opening like this is going to also every time it's complete missing we don't know and because it will adapt to the color so I know if you like if you prepare anything then the background adapt perfectly to the theme that you have which is nice but the problem is that when this is going so for instance the theme that you can use I mean we're very dependent actually because there's one thing which is local which is a high contrast one yeah so the one of it is fine but if you take the default from this one high contrast yeah you use then for me that because the fact that the color it reads the wrong color so the text is said to be white the same as the background because
They're defining something that it's therefore.
yeah therefore but then they explain it as saying it's broken as like this is freaking idea that and I went to the school and I told them like you think it's broken it has been merged in 10 minutes it has to be reverted in then because like somebody say oh that's not as high contrast in this specific case like it's still broken so
Not do something because you know because I guess you're using some class for
yes
that is defined by the thing. Not some specific thing to detect that this is particular thing or to detect that to say okay
yeah so I show them like this is wrong and it's what actually that you should use this
trap for
ready for the talk?
Like, sure, you wait next minutes. Then you take a conversation and say, oh, but there's a regression.
Should I do a practice talk? Should I practice the talk before the actual talk?
And then use more contrast, but stay. So, this kind of impersonally more parfait. Mais c'est vraiment, ouais, il y a le blanc et le c'est que c'est complètement pas. Par exemple, avec l'éthique, ici, je suis sur la. En fait, c'est parce que ces trucs-là sont mal implémentés, ils sont mal implémentés. En fait, là, c'est. Bon, ok, on a peut-être perdu du contrat. On a
So you're going to be presenting first at
30.
10:30? Yes. I will be the
Session chair.
session chair, yeah. And I didn't have anything about you in your bio.
Ah, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so I don't know how to first how to pronounce the name.
How would you pronounce it?
Mridul Seth.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and I mean, I can do my own thing too. Thank you. I'm a software developer at European Spallation Service.
Okay, European Spallation Service. Okay, maybe I can, because I don't want to mix anything. If I don't have it written, I will just tell that you present this topic.
My name is enough.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and I will also be there. There should be a card. So I will show you here. There are how many minutes are left, and it's up to you if you want to have few minutes at the end for questions. I would recommend this. But if you don't, it's okay. It's just when we need to stop. So when the next person needs to start the keynote, you just need to stop there.
Yes. I have 30 minutes, right?
I think so, yes. I would need to double check because it's changing now depending on the... Yeah, you have 30 minutes.
Yeah. And which mic do I use? Or?
It doesn't matter. I will take one. Other person will take one for the questions. Okay. And you will have one. Just don't use the small one because it's getting a lot of statics for some reason. Okay, so I go for a break for here because we still the time. So
thank you.
Bah, c'est pas pété, le résultat, quoi. C'est juste que
Yeah.